Earful Tower listeners, we are breaking protocol here. I'm doing an emergency double introduction, and there's a couple of reasons for it. First, there's been a generous donation to the Kickstarter for my new memoir by the Peloton Cafe. Look, Peloton Cafe, one of my favorite places in Paris. They feature heavily in the book, and they were very important to me during my Paris journey. So this episode is dedicated to them. Thank you very much. If you guys come to Paris, you listeners, go and find the Peloton Cafe in the 4th arrondissement, one of my favorite places to go for a coffee. Say hi from me, why not? So thank you, Paul and Christian, from that lovely cafe. Now, if you also want to get an episode dedicated to you, or if you want to get a copy of my new memoir, go to theearfultower.com/book. Now, there's two other reasons I'm doing this emergency intro besides the usual intro. One is that I wanted to say thank you to everyone because we're over 150% on that Kickstarter goal, which means I'm very close to guaranteeing a big book tour in the US. I'm talking like a 20-date US book tour all over the country. There's loads of details on social media. Thanks for all these generous offers. It looks like I might be doing a rooftop bar show in Chicago and a wine shop show in Seattle. It's all getting out of control. I'm really enjoying this. Let's see if it can happen. Help me make it a reality. Buy a copy of the book, please. Also, might do Australia. A lot of people in Australia who are saying, what are you forgetting about us for? I won't forget about you guys. Go and support the Kickstarter, earfultower.com/book. The third thing, Julie in this episode, who I'm going to introduce it properly in a second, but she talks a lot about dormers. I didn't know what a dormer was. I looked it up, and just to let you guys know, it's a, maybe you knew already, but it's a form of a roof window. It's essentially a window with a roof on top, extra space, a little bit of extra space in there. You knew that already. Oh yeah, one more thing. I'm recording this on Sunday, the day before I'm going to release it. It's exactly 2 years ago that I started Patreon. Without you Patreon supporters, I would have given up a long time ago. Thanks especially to you guys who've been there since the very beginning. But patreon.com/theearfultower for loads of extra bonuses and keeping this show on the airwaves. Now, on with the real introduction. Enough of this emergency stuff. Let's get going. Hello everyone, you're listening to the Earful Tower podcast. My name's Oliver G. Every week I do episodes like this where I interview interesting people about France, Paris, the French language, all that kind of stuff, and today's no exception. But before I get into introducing today's guests and the whole story behind it, let me remind you that this show is brought to you by the good people over at French Today. If you want to get your hands on that extra 10% off the audiobooks, frenchtoday.com/earful12, and I've got a little bit of a surprise for you from them at the end of this episode. More on that after today's chat. Now, let me tell you, I met up with today's guest, Julie Ha, weirdly enough, at the Australian Embassy. This is before my big event there. This was another event. We met on the balcony. We got chatting. I think I already followed her very impressive Instagram account, which you can check out for yourself. It is French_manoir. You can find that nice and easily. Look at some pictures as we're talking. I think we talk about it in the episode. But we got chatting, and she said, if you ever want to come out and visit me in the chateau, you're welcome. Bring your wife along. We'll make a weekend out of it. And I said, one day, Julie, I'll do that. And believe it or not, that weekend came in the past weekend here in Paris. And I rented a car, drove a couple of hours out to the location in the department of Mayenne. Now, I can't tell you exactly where the location is because it's private. You'd have to find out by booking a place in this chateau, which I can highly recommend. I was there for an evening with my wife, Lena, and Julie is a lovely guest and a friend of the show. And you're going to hear quite an interesting story. It involves renovation nightmares. It involves the difficulties of being the only Asian person in a French village. It involves, there's a lot going on in this chat, which we recorded in the library of her lovely chateau. So go and check it out. If you want to get more information, thefrenchmanoir.net. And when I say manoir, MANOIR. Check them out. Have a little listen. Say hello if you ever go and visit from me here at the Eiffel Tower. Doesn't make any difference to me if you do or not, but it's always nice for people to know where you found them. And that Instagram account again, French_manoir. Join the other 69,000 followers there. You'll have a good time. Now, before we get into the episode, I just wanted to say an enormous thank you to everyone who's backed my Kickstarter for my book, Paris on Air. If you haven't, there's still plenty of time to do it. There are there's extra information now that the goal has been surpassed, but it's still the perfect time to buy the book. I've explained it all on the site. Why don't you do yourself or your future self a little Christmas service and purchase a copy? It's only 20 euros. Go for it. Now, on with the episode. I'll talk to you again at the end. Let's do it. Julie, hello.
Hi.
Usually, I would say welcome to my studio, but that's not the case today.
No?
For this special episode, a kind of a Christmas festive episode, I've come to you in your chateau in the middle. Where are we?
I have no idea.
This is Normandy, right?
Yeah, no, this is Pays de la Loire.
Pays de la Loire.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't looking at the GPS when I was driving out here. I was just focusing on not hitting any sheep or any cows.
Cows.
So we're Pays de la Loire.
Yeah, we are in Pays de la Loire, and I am in the Mayenne department.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know France very well, if you imagine France as a big hexagon, we're kind of off to the left top bit.
Sort of from Paris, we are on the left, so west of Paris.
Right.
Yeah, it's about like 240 kilometers from Paris.
A couple of hours drive, depending on who's driving.
Exactly.
I think we've established that you maybe drive faster than my wife drives. Is that right?
Yeah, probably.
But so I'm sitting here in your beautiful chateau, and we're going to talk a little bit about renovating, buying and restoring a chateau in the countryside.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about the fact that you're Korean, because I'm very excited to have a Korean guest on the show.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the first and ever.
The first, yeah.
Wonderful.
I'm very excited. I'm especially excited because of what you just said to me about your previous job before I pressed record, and I'm excited to talk about that as well.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like we've got a lot to fit in just under half an hour. So why don't I start off with a really easy question?
Sure.
How long have you been in France?
Oh, well, on and off since 2013. That's when we purchased a house in middle of nowhere in French countryside.
Right.
But we've been hunting house since 2011.
Right.
Yeah.
What part of you made you think, I don't want a house, I want a chateau?
No, actually, not really chateau, but it happened to be chateau.
This is the first place you're talking about?
Yeah. And then we've been hunting like a big cottage with a big land.
Yeah.
Because my dream was restoring an old house. It doesn't have to be chateau, but any old house.
Right.
And before I die, well, I'm not sick or anything,
Well,
but
it's very hard to do it after you die as well.
exactly. Yeah, so we only die once.
Yeah, right.
It's not YOLO, it's Yoda.
Yeah,
you know?
true.
Yeah. So but my husband's dream was when he retires, he wants to be self-sufficient.
Right.
So, but we lived in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't want to settle in Australia. So we hunt out, and then we thought, okay, France will be a good place to do it.
Which is kind of weird because there isn't an actual French connection with you or your husband who's Scottish.
Zero.
So you're kind of one of these people who has the dream of the French countryside, and that was you as well?
Yeah, something like that. You know, everybody loves France.
Is that true? I'm interested in Korea. Is there also, like in America and Australia, we know that everyone loves France. Mm-hmm. Is it strong in Korea as well?
Yeah, I think so, because I didn't know much, but after I published the book and I found out that there are a lot of interest in France, especially Paris. Not a lot of people know about French countryside.
Right.
But I was surprisingly shocked.
Were you shocked that it sold thousands and thousands of copies? The book, which I unfortunately can't read.
Yeah, it's only in Korean at the moment.
No, but I've looked through it, and we went through it together. It's a beautiful book.
Thank you.
And you have got dreams of it coming out in English, right?
Yeah. Hope so.
Yeah.
Ish.
So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
But the Korean audience has responded to it strongly.
Amazingly, I wasn't expect anything like that.
Yeah.
But I was very surprised that a lot of people know more about France. And then now the Korea is kind of small country, so people and they're all packed in a city, so they want more spaces in like countryside.
Are you from Seoul?
Yeah, I was born in Seoul, raised in Seoul, lived
Right.
in Seoul until I moved to Australia as an international student.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
How long ago was this?
That's 1992, so that's like long time ago.
Is that when the Olympics were?
No, Olympic was
80.
86 was Asian game, and 88 was Olympic game.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so Korea kind of developed around that time
Okay, so you're a young woman, moved to Australia, study.
to study.
Was there already a seed of France planted in there somewhere?
No,
So
it's
maybe
it's
it developed in Australia then.
yeah. I thought I was going to live in Australia for good until I die.
Yeah.
But then I met my husband, and then we kind of planned. Along the way, we thought, okay, maybe when we retire, Australia's kind of big island. It's
Yeah.
kind of. I know people love Australia, but for us, not so much.
Too far away, too isolated?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somewhere close, kind of land, not
Right.
the island.
Right.
Yeah. So Europe kind of fit in, perfectly for
Right.
our plan.
I think I know there are a lot of Australians that listen to this show.
Is there?
Yeah, sure. And a lot of them dream of France as well. Mostly Paris, but I think in Australia too, a lot of people have that idea of the French countryside and a cottage or a chateau
Yeah.
as a kind of dream retirement maybe
Yeah.
project.
I think so. Now I know quite a few Australian lives not far from me.
Right.
Few bought some amazingly huge chateau.
Is it so? Why is everyone buying chateau? Is everyone
don't
mega
know.
wealthy, or are they cheaper?
No, because
or?
chateau means like you can have a Versailles or you can have a amazingly big royal chateau,
Right.
especially along the Loire Valley in Pays de la Loire.
So isn't everything around the Pays de Loire? It's all chateaus.
Yeah, so Pays de la Loire actually is chateau capital in France.
Of the universe, probably.
Yeah, probably of the universe.
So
Yes.
Well, let's rewind. Is there a limit of the size of a house to make it a chateau? What is a chateau?
Chateau means like a big house in that region.
Right.
So biggest house, and then there is a
So
royal chateau.
So you can only have one in a region, is that?
No,
Okay.
because the biggest, it doesn't have to. I don't know how it defines, but because I live in pretty small village,
Yeah.
and then our house happened to be the biggest
Okay.
in the region in where I live.
Right.
So we have a couple of other chateaus.
Right.
So it's like Chateau de Versailles means the Versailles Chateau is the biggest house
Yeah. That
maison
makes sense. That
in
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Versailles, Chateau de Versailles.
I wonder what the smallest chateau in France is.
I don't know because our house is not like full chateau. We call it petit chateau.
Petit chateau.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because the chateau, I guess it has a name of chateau
Yeah.
because it's the biggest house
Sure. Sure.
in our village.
Yeah. You know, if we got €1 for every time we've said the word chateau in the past 65 seconds, we
Yeah,
could buy another chateau.
chateau exactly.
But what about the thing that I really, and I hope that people at home, visual people who are listening to this podcast, they should check out your Instagram account to have a look at what we're talking about here. Is it just French manoir?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the French. That's the French _manoir.
Okay, so you guys can check that out as you're listening to get an idea of exactly what's going on here. But what I love about it is we walked in here. I'm here with Lena, my wife. We sat down at your kitchen, and you told stories of renovating this chateau to me.
Nightmare.
It made me feel like I never want to renovate anything, including, maybe you can tell it, the nightmare in the kitchen.
Yeah.
What happened?
Because when we first bought the house, it was pretty not very good condition, I should say, because the mushroom was growing and
What, mushrooms growing in the
yeah,
house?
yeah, because it was locked up for 5 years.
So no one lived here for 5 years?
Yeah, no one lived here for 5 years.
And how big is it, for people to get an idea?
I have no idea. It's like 450 meters square or something like that.
Right. How many bedrooms is that?
We have so far 5 bedrooms and then spread on 3 floors.
Right,
And we have a
okay.
full basement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So people can kind of... How many mushrooms is that?
many mushrooms on the 3rd floor. And then
Yeah.
we have a leaked roof.
Yeah.
And then pretty much like rain inside the house. We didn't know when we bought it, but when we first came to start renovating the house, and then one spring, I think it was April, and it was like raining outside, like cats and dogs.
Oh my God.
And then it was raining inside as well.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But how did, like, when you came in, I don't know how it works, but I imagine they took you in to look at it before you signed to buy it, right?
Yeah.
Did they just clean up all the water or something first?
I have no idea because we came in end of April to see the house for the first time, and it was beautiful spring day. But following year it wasn't like that. So the weather changes, and then we cannot control it. And there was a little leak on the top floor. So when we purchased it, we had them fix it, but obviously it wasn't fixed properly. And because in France, normally there's no house inspection. There's no such thing as house inspection existed when we bought it.
Oh, really?
But you can hire like private inspector to look at it. But since this is like 3-story tall,
Yeah.
and we couldn't check all the roof, and then we have about how many, like 4 dormers at the back,
Right.
5 dormers at the back, and then about 5 dormers in the front, and then 2 in each side.
Yeah.
And then most of the dormer, there was a big hole in it.
Right.
So when it rained, all the water got into the hole, which came down to the house. So that's why when it was raining outside, it's raining inside. So we know the weather.
So you brought the weather not just inside, but into your
House, yeah.
Right.
So that was like shocking, you
Yeah.
know.
And
Well,
then what
even-
happened in the kitchen?
Oh, and then so we started renovating since 2014, and I didn't renovate the house, but it was just my dream to renovate old house, and it happened to be where I live now. And renovating process was very hectic because I was living in Australia. Now I live in France full time since 2019. So I have to travel back and forth renovating it, and then since it's a countryside, it's very difficult to find a good builder.
I can
And then
imagine.
we have to line up for a long time. So we had to wait for 1 year to fix the roof.
You had to wait for a year.
1 year, yeah, because all the roofer was all scheduled. So we had to
Really?
wait.
Do you think that the whole of this part of France is just people fixing old roofs then?
No, yeah, that's what I thought. Maybe
Right.
everybody's fixing the roof,
I mean,
when we
that's
wanted
crazy.
to.
You have to wait a year.
Yeah, we
for
have
the
to
roof.
because there are very limited builders, and
Yeah.
then there are, I guess, many people doing not only big chateau or small chateau, but normal house as well.
Yeah.
So we had to wait for 1 year.
Don't tell me you got the cheapest guy.
Oh no, we have the expensive guy. Oh my god! And then I checked because when you hire builder, you have to check their credentials,
Yeah.
their license,
Yeah.
and everything. So legit, and that's why you pay expensive because you
but-
pay tax and everything.
It sounds to me that the guy who was dealing with the bathroom above your kitchen was maybe not worth the money.
No, because when I start renovating the house, when I didn't speak any French, so we hired English builder, and he had a proper license, he had a insurance and everything, so that's all you can do. And then I checked his reference, I checked what he did, and then everything looked fine, and he worked really, really hard. And then he put the septic tank, and he did our driveway. He did a lot of work for 3 months with me. So I just last few weeks, just a few things to fix. Then I just left. That was the bathroom, which above the kitchen at the moment. And then I had to pay him the last payment, but he sent me the picture, but something wasn't right. But I already went back to Australia So
you've got this guy renovating a house while you're in Australia.
Australia, yeah, but which was a bad idea because a lot of people said, "Oh, if you cannot supervise them and just have the work stop and then come back and do it again." But because only like few things to do and then just a week worth of work, so I thought, okay, because he was very trustworthy, so I said, okay, just go ahead and do it. But when we sent the picture, something wasn't right. So because I already in Australia, but my gut feeling tell me I have to go back. So I came back, and 3 days later, my kitchen ceiling collapsed.
Oh my gosh.
And I have to live like that for 6 months until the insurance figured it out how to do it.
That's so horrible.
Well, yeah, I cried, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. So only thing it kind of scared me was if I wasn't here, then our whole house, because how they construct these old houses, old insulation is like a dirt and clay and things like that in between the plaster. Not even the plasterboard, plaster. So if that melts, it's a.
You mean like, was it hot water that was getting in? Or something?
It was like one of the bathroom fitting, the shower, the hot water pipe got busted.
So essentially, it's just building clay, thick, heavy, wet clay, and that just collapsed. Through.
And then water was just pouring down like a waterfall.
What a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've heard so many renovation nightmare stories.
Disasters.
Yeah,
yes.
I've had David Leibovitz on the show before talking about his apartment in Paris.
Yeah.
Same kind of story. I mean, I don't think his roof collapsed, but similar kind of...
I don't know. Some people, there might be some roof collapse, just, something, floor falling down and walls like moving. And
so how long did it take then to get everything to the state that it's in now? Because now it's lovely.
Yeah, so since 2014 till 2018, so 6 years I've been traveling back and forth between Melbourne to Paris, and then another 3 hours driving to countryside. A lot of mileage. Yes.
Do you feel like it's finished now, or is it a job that's never finished?
No, it's never finished because old house, a lot of maintenance. So we painted everything, all the shutters and windows, and 5 years ago, now it's time to repaint again.
Because I was wondering, I was very fortunate to be invited to a friend's going away. She was leaving France after 7 years here, and she rented a chateau, but on the other side of Paris, so in Champagne. And it was big. It's like 40 rooms or something crazy. And I remember every room was amazing and very old. The room that I was in had some missing floorboards. And
that's normal.
That's what I thought. I remember thinking, in a small flat like in mine in Paris, if there was a missing floorboard, you'd fix it straight away, right? But in this old chateau, I imagined that missing floorboard was maybe number 500 on the list of things
Probably,
to do. Right?
yeah.
So it's never going to get fixed.
No.
Is that the same here? Do you find things like if a window smashes, do you go, forget about that?
No, window smash, of course you have to fix it because the wind gets in and rain gets in.
Yeah.
But there are many little things because the last 6 years we've done like major things. So this house was pretty much like shell. So we have to fit everything. The floorboard was there, but it's all squeaking. But we have to lift everything up to wire. There's no fuse box. There was no hot water. There's nothing. So we wired whole house, new electric systems. No septic. There's a septic, tiny one. But when you buy new house, then you have to change because there's a law has changed.
Sure.
So pretty much we just saved the shell and then did everything.
So you just had a shell of out, but did you were you thinking so for example, did you know you had to do a new septic and things like that, or did you find that out as you went along?
Septic we knew it, but electricity we knew it, but in between there are many other things that we didn't know about it, and then especially roof and all the windows.
What do you mean all the windows? You had to replace them?
The top floors, because couple of the window top floor was barely hanging when there was a strong wind one day and it just blew out and then just smashed everything. Crazy. So there was no window, so that was urgent list, but we had to wait for 1 year to have a roofer and a window guys. So
Do you have a piece of advice to anyone listening whose dream it is to buy a chateau in France?
Or even big house or anything.
Or even anything that's a bit beyond a normal size house. Is your advice, don't do it?
You should do it, why not? You can do it. You only die once.
Yeah.
So just if that's your dream before you die, why not? You should do it. However, you should know, I didn't know anything about restoring old house, especially this big.
Right.
And because we only lived in very new construction all this time. So my husband always like, no, you cannot do it because it's going to cost a lot of money. But I didn't know. I just, tell him, no, I will take care of everything. I will deal with all this headache, which I did.
Yeah, I'll fix the roof, don't worry.
Oh, no, not fixing the roof. But I find somebody who can fix the roof, that kind of things. But you need to know your budget.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, middle of the restoration of a big house, they couldn't continue, and then they selling. There are many chateau big houses for sale, resale because of that reason.
So people who've bought it and then realize it's too expensive.
Because sometimes people retire, have a lot of time in their hand, they think they can do it, but it's not possible.
So know your budget, everybody, if you're thinking to buy that chateau.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of friends around the place who are in the
I
chateau.
made a lot of friends.
Well, I'm intrigued. Is there like a little Facebook club or something? I'm an expat with
No,
a
I
chateau.
don't have a Facebook.
Well then, or is there like,
I have like an Instagram.
is there an Instagram account, expat with a chateau, and then you text each other and go, oh, me too, shall we meet up and
or something
stories?
like that.
Yeah?
That's one way to put it. But just that you happen to you share same pain.
Yeah. Is there a lot of the same kind of stories going on?
Yeah, a lot of same similar stories, and then a lot of people with a lot of money, they can just keep pouring the money, but it takes time also, and it's need a patience. Yeah, so I think that's most important thing, patience.
Yeah.
Because you cannot just fix it, you have to wait, and also like if you need to get some kind of like a approval from government, for example, like putting the even simple as a septic tank, it's like long process.
I've heard that in France, even beyond septic tanks, like if you wanted to, I don't know, change the chimney or something.
If your house is, how do you call that? Historic monument.
Yeah.
Then
heritage
site. Then you have to have. You cannot do anything.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. Luckily, our house. I was very happy. I didn't even know about it. And our notaire, our lawyer, said, oh, Julie, your house is not a heritage site or anything, so you can do whatever you want. So
interesting. So what do you need to qualify for heritage site?
I don't know. I haven't asked, but there are many old houses, and like some historically important.
Sure, it could just be that a famous person.
Famous person, or maybe architect, or I don't know. So
like you were saying, one of your friends, their house was owned by did you say the bodyguard or something?
Oh yeah, because my friend's house in Angers. Their house was very interesting, and then the first owner of their house was owned by personal bodyguard of Louis XVI.
Amazing.
Yeah, so something like that.
Although that guy didn't do a very good job, because as I learned in last week's episode, Louis XVI was killed.
Of course.
In the French Revolution. What was the bodyguard doing?
Nothing. He probably got killed, probably too.
He's probably at his chateau renovating the roof or something when everything was going down.
Yeah.
We need to. Time is getting away, as I told you it would. We haven't talked about Seoul at all, and I'm interested because you said that you were what were you sports? What was it again?
No, I worked for Olympic organizations when I was in Korea, long time ago, many months ago, which that changed my life. I actually work as a Japanese and an English interpreter, as well as a stadium announcer.
And so that when you said that, I said, stop, I want to hear more about it. But first, you speak Japanese as well?
Japanese is my second language. So Korean is my first.
So Korean, Japanese,
English and then trying to learn French. Yes.
I wouldn't blame you if you never got very far, because that sounds like a head full of difficult languages already.
Yeah.
Is Japanese and Korean similar?
Grammatically, it's kind of similar, but there's whole different character, so
like
you have to
script,
and then you have to memorize everything, and then different grammar.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, but I like, oh man, I want to talk about that too, but let's focus on the announcer.
Yeah.
Is that, you mean like, welcome everybody to the stadium, that kind of thing?
Yeah, like a, ladies and gentlemen, that kind of thing.
In America at a big sports event, I imagine the person to do that to be quite big and like, here we, like a deep voice.
No, because, the microphone is amazing.
Right.
So what I will do is I will just welcome all the athletics and then, and then when they're coming into the stadium, then I will have to introduce, who's coming and what they're doing, right. And then when they're getting the medal, then I have to announce that who's getting the medal. We're gonna have a ceremonies, and right. I do all the welcoming parties and farewell parties, and I basically look after also all the delegates from all over the world.
Sure.
Yeah, so that was my job. So, but my English wasn't that good. Right. It was okay,
right.
But that made me went to Australia to study English.
How interesting.
Yeah.
And then you and I met at the Australian ambassador's residence.
Yes.
At not the event that I held there, but a different event.
Yeah.
And the full circle is completed.
I know.
Yeah. What an interesting switch for you to come from that kind of lifestyle to the countryside in France where there's animals running
you
around.
never know.
Yeah.
I keep telling friends, why countryside, middle of nowhere in France, France. But I keep telling them because maybe I was a French in my previous life, and I was maybe one of the maids in a chateau, and I always wanted to, own a chateau. Yeah. So maybe I reincarnated it, and then maybe owned another huge Chateau de Versailles, but a small, tiny, petit chateau in the countryside.
Statistically, if you were a maid in a chateau in France in a previous life, you would have been at Versailles because they had so many people working. It wouldn't have been.
Or maybe Fontainebleau, maybe who knows? Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of listeners out there who feel that they were maybe French in a previous life or wish they lived in the countryside.
Yeah.
We can kind of finish on this question. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's as romantic and beautiful in the French countryside as people think it is? Or would you rather be in Paris where everything's happening?
I think it's all very personal and individual. Because I was born in big city. I lived in a big city. I lived in San Francisco for 11 years also.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so all the big city didn't do any good for me. Right. But I always wanted to live in the countryside. So for me and for my husband, countryside is kind of, good for us. And then, you can say romantic, I like Paris, but I can visit, but I don't think I can live there.
There's not as much space as there is here.
No, I need to see the garden, grass and trees and birds and flowers. So this is perfect for us.
And the people, like the villagers, the French people?
I was very worried, but they're very friendly. And then
why were you worried?
Because I learned French people can be very arrogant and not friendly and very proud of their country and their language. So I was like, oh my God, Paris is like that, and it will be worse in French countryside because the people can be, I thought, narrow-minded in the countryside. But no, it's I am kind of like not many. Maybe only one in Asian woman in where I live now. Yeah. So when I go to supermarket, they look at me like a monkey in the zoo. But rather than that, but it's all friendly. They're kind of curious,
right. So they come and talk to you?
No, they all say bonjour and then just, hi, and then trying to help me. And even when I go to drugstore and pharmacy and, they're trying to help me. Because I still, my French is not still that great.
Sure, people say that that's a key thing to fitting in anywhere in France is to master the language as quickly as you can.
How quick?
I have no idea. I don't know. Have you ever thought to cook Asian food for the locals?
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
they love it.
Yeah?
They love it. So they even asked me to give them Korean cooking class or something like that. Yeah, so I taught a couple of neighbor how to cook Korean noodles and then rice and things like that.
And does that happen? Do you talk about that in your book?
No, it's not in my book, but I kind of plan to do something like that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Do it in English for the sake of everybody here.
I might.
And then you know what we're going to do?
Yeah.
You and I can go on a book tour together.
Yeah.
My book should be out by then, right?
Perfect. Congratulations.
Thank you. We can tour South Korea.
Yeah.
South Australia.
South Australia.
And everywhere in between.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
America.
And
yeah.
that would be wonderful.
Definitely America.
Okay, America, we're coming for you. And then
Yes.
maybe if I could be so bold as to ask, we could have a copy of the book on the beautiful bookshelf behind you, of my book.
Definitely.
All
You know,
right.
I can even translate in maybe Korean.
And Japanese.
And Japanese, definitely.
All right,
Korean and Japanese.
Now we're talking.
That would be interesting, no?
All right. Okay, well, that's something to look forward to. But Julie, thank you so much for having me out here.
Oh, no, thank you very much for coming all the way,
It's my-
fighting Paris traffic, and
Yeah,
then
with
you
that-
didn't hit the cow, so that's good.
With the strikes that have been ongoing in Paris, it is an absolute pleasure to be anywhere else, and I wouldn't rather be anywhere than right here. So thank you, Julie. Everybody, go and check out her stuff. But Julie, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
So that was Julie from the chateau, and a lovely story it was, but I've got a bit of a surprise for you. Usually right now I'd be talking about French Today with Camille, but today I actually have her on the phone because we've got a bit of an exciting promotion to do. Camille, can you read me?
Oui, je peux t'entendre, Oliver. Je
Oh my
t'entends.
gosh, straight into French. Whoa. I know why you went straight into French is because of our upcoming episode where you've molded me into a Frenchman more or less with what we've got cooking.
It was not easy, but you made a promise to your audience, and you're pretty good at keeping promises.
Yes.
So do you know, guys, what's coming? What's gonna be coming next week?
Okay, I'll explain here. Camille has been so Camille, for those of you who don't know, and her company French Today has been the sponsor of the show for the whole year. Often after we record our monthly episode, she says, "Oliver, you got to do an episode in French," and I say, "Camille, it's not going to happen." And you say by the end of the year I'll convince you, and that's exactly what you guys are going to get for the last Earful episode of the year. So that'll be next week. What are you going to try and get me to do here, Camille?
Well, we've been talking about doing a lesson live, and we've been working together on my À moi Paris learning method to learn French. And I think that it would be nice if you read a chapter, and if
You want me to read French to the audience at home?
Yes,
like a bedtime story or something?
absolutely.
Oh,
and I have
goodness.
something very difficult, actually challenging for you. It's the pronunciation of tous, tous or tu. And I'd like to challenge you on that, see if you're up to the challenge.
I've got an idea. Why don't we do the numbers? I'll just read out all the numbers. A really easy challenge.
Yes, and everybody will fall up to sleep, will fall down to sleep, I guess.
Yeah.
No, too dangerous. You cannot be reading the numbers.
All right, okay. All right, I hereby accept, as a Christmas miracle, I accept your challenge.
Yay!
And
I'm sure we will be fine. And you know what? I will give an excellent explanation of tu and the pronunciation of, T-O-U-T, T-O-U-T-E, T-O-U-T-S. No, that does not exist. T-O-U-S.
Can I go ahead and find it in your audiobooks ahead of time and practice? Or is
Yes, of course. It's in the intermediate level. It's L3. And it's chapter 8.
Okay. So that's something to look forward to. For you guys who want to play along or read ahead, go and check out the audiobooks from French Today. So if you go to frenchtoday.com/earful12, that's 12 for 12, you get an additional 10% off those audiobooks. Buy À moi Paris Level 3 for intermediates. Get practicing. We're going to do somewhere, I guess, in the middle of that book. I'd better find it ahead of time. Oh my gosh, I got to practice. TOUS, TOUT, tous. I'll figure it out. I'll be ahead of you. I'll be ahead of the game, Camille. You can't catch me that easy.
I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm not worried at all.
But before that comes out, Christmas will pass. So maybe we can end this with exactly how to say Merry Christmas in French.
Absolutely. It's joyeux,
Joyeux
Noël.
Noël. Joyeux Noël.
Yeah, and now put your heart into it. Joyeux Noël.
Joyeux. No, say it again. Joyeux.
Joyeux.
Joyeux Noël. Joyeux Noël, tout le monde.
Then I have another one. You can just say Bon Noël.
Bon Noël. No, I prefer the other one.
Yeah, Joyeux Noël is better.
I think because when you read it, people think it's joyeux because it looks like joy in English, right?
Yes.
But it's joyeux.
So, yeah, really, the key is on opening your mouth pretty wide on this
joyeux.
Joyeux. Joyeux Noël.
I hope you're all repeating that, but I'm giving you the challenge. It's Christmas coming up. Go and say to someone, a French person or otherwise, Joyeux Noël, Joyeux Noël. And over to you, Camille. Joyeux Noël to you as well.
Joyeux Noël à toi et à Lina et à toute ta famille, Oliver. Et à bientôt alors.
Merci, and I'll see you next week, Camille.
Oui.
I'm getting ready now. Au revoir, au revoir, au revoir.